This is the first time attending this meeting.
Oh,
Yeah, I
hi.
just write down my name in the my LinkedIn
Oh,
contact.
thank you. And where are you based out of?
I'm based in California, but right now I'm in Taiwan.
Oh, wow. So,
Wow.
Is it like 5 in the morning there? 4 in the morning?
Yeah. So
You get the bonus award for waking up so early.
Yeah.
Well, welcome and thank you so much for coming, Diana, all the way from Taiwan. Awesome. So we're going to start soon. Give me 1 second as I just make sure we are on speaker view. Oops. Okay, and okay, I'm going to mute everyone. Give me 1 second. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm not sure why it's going straight to just Diana. Okay. Do you guys see me right now? Okay, awesome.
Oh, sorry, I forgot.
No worries. You want to just mute yourself. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to today. For the folks who just came in, just make sure you introduce yourself in the chat. You can put your name, what city you're from, what company, and also your LinkedIn profile as well. We'll probably end up having 100 people towards the end in the Zoom room. And we're also we have a few dozen folks watching live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. So before we begin, we're going to do a quick exercise. For this next activity, top right-hand side, I want you to put yourself on gallery mode so we kind of look like the Brady Bunch, right? So you can kind of see everyone. And turn on your videos if you can, because this is kind of like an interactive community. We always start our calls with a series of questions. You ready? So raise your hand if the answer is yes, okay? If people really saw me for who and what I am, I think I'd be further along in my career. Raise your hand if you agree. I believe that most people are hoping for me to succeed rather than waiting for me to fail. Both hands if you agree. I could be far more focused and confident at work if I didn't need the need to fake it. Oh, let me do a quick disclaimer too. If you're not working, or if you are currently, let's say, a founder or have your own business, think about the last time you had a job, okay, or the last corporate job that you had when you're answering these questions. My real life personality is more interesting than my corporate front. If I were more myself at work, I could be much more persuasive. I'm a juicy human being with good intentions who deserves all good things. I'm exhausted by the energy required to try to be someone else or something that I'm not. The people I respect most at work are the ones who seem the most honest, human, and accessible. I'd rather be recognized and promoted in appreciation of who I really am than to succeed because I was good at putting on a false front. I don't need more of these obvious questions to prove that being anything less than myself at work is really a bad idea. Awesome. So if you answered agree to any of these, you're a prime candidate for upping your swagger game. And that was actually a test in Leslie's book, which I highly recommend that you pick up. So, the first step is really kind of believing that you can have swagger and that this journey is going to be worth it, right? So for the next part, top right-hand side, please put this on speaker mode. Welcome to our latest microlearning series where we bring in subject matter experts to discuss topics that we feel are important to succeed in business, life, or starting a business. So what the heck is a microlearning? It's a training and development that focuses on offering bite-sized, small learning units with just the necessary amount of information to help learners achieve a goal. This is not a webinar where you passively listen to a talking head. We want you to immediately take 1, 2, 3 actions after we hang up. It could be updating your profile. It could be connecting with someone. It could be kind of really working on your swagger game. And as we are community focused, we want you to connect with each other. Connect with 1-3 new people on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube. Ping each other and add each other on LinkedIn. And as such, when if we go to the breakout rooms at the end, please turn on your videos or jump off the call before we go into the breakout rooms. So today I'm so excited to have the dynamic Leslie Ehm as our speaker to talk about her book, Swagger. Once again, unleash everything you are and become everything that you want. So Leslie, I got your book and I haven't finished it all. I'm maybe halfway through, but wow. Guys, go buy this book right away. Before I got the book, I really didn't know what to expect. When I first heard of the title of Leslie's book, Swagger, I thought that book was about self-confidence. Back in the day when I went to college in the Bay Area, San Francisco, when someone had swag, it was someone who was kind of relatively cool, someone who was, had their shit together, right? While doing research for this presentation, I looked in the Webster's dictionary, and the definition was to conduct oneself in an arrogant or superciliously pompous manner, or to walk with an air of overbearing self-confidence. Yuck. Or to boast or to brag. And fun fact, word swagger first debuted in the 1600 printing of the play A Midnight Summer Dream by Shakespeare. And the context of it was used along this line: "What hempen homespuns have we swaggering here?" The correct definition of the word applies to carrying oneself in an insolent and supercilious manner. I have not said supercilious this much in one sentence. In short, over others as if they are your inferiors or to be elite. And quick poll for the audience. In the comments, I want you to type this in, but don't press send yet till I tell you. So in the poll right now, or if you're on one of the live stream, in the comments, I want you to type it in, but don't press send yet until I tell you. What's your definition of swagger? How would you define swagger? Put it in the comments right now. I'm going to tell you when to press send. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, press send. Bravado, confidence, shameless confidence, style. I see a lot of confidence. How one presents himself or herself. The way someone carries themselves with confidence. I love this. Ditto on confidence. Great. So what's interesting is after I actually read Leslie's book, I realized that what swagger to Leslie is about is being authentic and speaking your truth. I realized the book and the definition about being 100% tells you you are or you aren't. The book really, really resonated with me. There's a quote from the book that I want to read to you, as I feel it's totally spot on. Can speaking your truth backfire sometimes? Abso-fucking-lutely. But it's still a better way to live than being locked up and silent. It can also be an indicator of whether you're in the right or wrong place, job, team, or relationship, and should always be accompanied by your real reflection. If people can't handle all of your jelly, it may be on them, not you. So over a month ago, some of you guys might have been on the call, we had Anne-Marie Squillo, who was the Chief Communication and Brand Officer at Xerox at the time. And she came and spoke about embracing who you are and the art of authenticity. So Anne-Marie Squillo blew my mind with her LinkedIn post or comment about this subject. And this was what she said. It took me until the last few years to realize that I didn't have to make myself someone else to fit in at various places where I worked. It was exhausting. Today you get me, and if you don't, then you don't get me, and it's a shame for you. It's absolutely liberating. And during that last call too, I gave a quote from Brene Brown, which I think really talks about what Leslie is talking about with swagger. Authenticity is a daily practice of letting go of who we think we are supposed to be and embracing who we are. So, while I was preparing this call with Leslie, I really had to kind of think about what it meant to me to have swagger and to be authentic. And for me, swagger and authenticity is really about someone living their true life, being who they are authentically. And who they are doesn't change based on the world around them, right? Who's in their life, who's telling them what to do, what work they have. And it's really about speaking your truth, even though fears might come up. And for me, authenticity means that your actions are always in alignment with your core beliefs and your values. And I realized a year ago that I wasn't being my authentic self. I wasn't aligned with my core values and what was important to me. And I took on jobs, and I had circles of friends because it was what I thought, what the world wanted of me. And it wasn't until I really figured out what my authentic self was, where I was able to really thrive. And for the longest time, I was freaking miserable until I found that. So I was really excited to read this book because I think it talks a lot about living, and finding your sense of self-worth, living your values, and not being anyone else. So I am really excited for today's microlearning featuring our special guest, Leslie Ehm. And I actually met Leslie years ago at a friend's wedding. And she posted something on LinkedIn a month ago, and I was like, that's Leslie. And she was opening her book, and I was like, I need to reach out to her. So Leslie is a former TV host. She's an advertising creative director turned training guru, and she's now a best-selling author. Leslie has spent decades traveling the globe with her award-winning company, Combustion, where she served as a president and chief fire starter. She's worked with executives and teams from top organizations like Google, Disney, PepsiCo, TD Bank, Uber, HBO, Lenovo, and more. She's turned technologists into creative forces, bankers into storytellers, and has brought a serious dose of badassness to boardrooms everywhere. Fueled by her unrelenting passion for developing human potential, Leslie is now a swagger coach, author of Swagger, Unleash Everything You Are and Becoming Everything You Want. Her book has hit the Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestseller list and is an Amazon #1 selling book. She's been called better than therapy, a rock star, ass-kicking, a force of nature, and even a witch. She can explain that later. So Leslie, we kind of talked about, and we saw other people's definitions of swagger, right? In the traditional dictionary, swagger is, as a verb, walking or behaving in a very confident and typically arrogant and aggressive way. As a noun, it's a very confident and typically arrogant, aggressive gait or manner. How would you define swagger?
My definition is not that old, bad, show-offy, arrogant, peacocky, in your face version. My definition is that swagger is the ability to manifest who you really are and hold on to it in the face of all of that psychological crap that's going to try and come for it, regardless of the situation or environment. So it means you have one face, one truth, one heart, and it shows up wherever you are and whoever you're with. And your environment does not change you. That's swagger.
Awesome. And so I kind of mentioned earlier that, you were previously a world-class master trainer on presentation skills. And I remember I had clients and members that would talk about how amazing you were and are. What inspired you to write a book about swagger?
I found that when I was traveling the world and training people on skills, it was presentation skills, creativity, leadership, communication, all of the countries I was in, all of the cultures, all of the companies, regardless of the level that people were at from CEOs down, because I worked with them all, I discovered that underneath it all, regardless of whatever I was doing from a training perspective, that people did not believe that they could be who they really were and still experience success. They did not feel that they were good enough at their core to achieve all of the dreams that they had. And that just broke my heart because I know that this is patently untrue. I know that it's, in fact, the opposite is true. The more yourself you can be, at work, the more you can succeed in your work.
And what was the light bulb moment that you had that aha moment? I mean, have you always been this swagalicious or confident? Like, what was the moment where you found your swag?
Well, I was raised by amazing parents who, from day one, told me that I should never be anything other than who I was. And I was not an easy kid. I was a total pain in the ass. I was hyper. I was precocious. I was loud. I got into trouble all the time. I didn't follow the rules. I didn't fit into any mold. It was not easy to be me. And it was not easy for other people to try and manage me and deal with me. Everybody tried to change me, and I wouldn't let it happen. I fought and fought and fought to keep my unique spirit alive because I didn't believe that sacrificing it was gonna come to any good in the end. It doesn't mean it wasn't way harder. It doesn't mean I had to make sacrifices and take risks. There were good times, there were bad times, but I knew that as soon as I sublimated who I was, that I would be lost. And I didn't want to be lost in this world. I believed that if I held on to who I was, that in the end, it would make all the difference. And so when I recognized this about all the people that I was training, it broke my heart. It really did. People were suffering. It was a prison of their own making, and they were stuck in this idea of the persona that they had to put on, that if they revealed who they really were to their peers, their colleagues, their bosses, their friends, that they wouldn't be accepted and they wouldn't be loved. But the irony is that until they revealed themselves for who they were, they would never be able to experience what love really is, which is unconditional. And I recognized that, at the end of the day, it's better to be accepted by some for who you really are than to be accepted by everybody for someone that you're not. So I wanted to focus solely on that. That became my sole purpose.
In your book, you kind of mentioned you have some really amazing stories of you going in training. There's one example of a CEO that kind of randomly got chosen to kind of speak, and he ended up saying that something that was very personal, and he broke down. What are some kind of interesting stories that you could kind of share, because you have tons of them?
Oh, so many of them. I mean, there was, I always don't want to ruin it for people because it's such a good story.
Yeah.
So I will tell people, I'm not gonna ruin the Tony story for you. It's like on the first page of the book. You got to read the Tony story. But I have countless examples of people that I've worked with who stepped over that line and said, okay, I'm going to drop the front and I'm going to step in to who I am. And the massive impact, like immediate and massive impact it had on their careers. There were people who, for example, were immigrants to Canada or to the US and who felt super uncomfortable about the fact that their culture was in conflict with the environment that they were living in now, and they didn't know how to tap into who they were. Or they had an accent and they felt they'd been told by all these assholes that, oh, I'm sorry, your English isn't good enough, or your accent is too thick, or whatever. All of this bullshit messaging that we get, and how that made them afraid to take on leadership roles, to step up and speak publicly, to to feel comfortable and confident in sharing their knowledge and expertise because they felt like it was hampered by whatever cultural stuff they brought along with them or whatever their accent was, and how when they started to reject that and step into it and own it, like to own it, that because it's a differentiator, it's what makes you stand out in this world. So yes, you have an accent. Can people understand what you're saying? Yeah, you're good to go. And anybody who is criticizing you for speaking in a second or third language, and by the way, the people who criticize are people who have one language, by the way, you know what I mean? And when you stop apologizing for it and you start stepping into it, again, magical things happen. I worked with this amazing young woman who was in one of my leadership groups, and she was very young, very small, very blonde, and had big, ambitious dreams of being an associate VP at a huge financial services technology company. But she had that coda persona on big. She was trying to sort of compensate for the fact that she was a small, blonde woman. And she felt like she had to be like one of the big dogs, one of the big male dogs, in order to compete and succeed. She was so buttoned down and so locked down. And I could see this amazing personality that she had that was being really hidden. And I just broke her down. I broke her down, turned her inside out, and got her to start to own the fact that, yes, she was young. There were all kinds of advantages that came along with that. Nobody could take her power from her unless she chose to give it to them. Nobody could take her experience from her. Nobody could take her knowledge and her competence from her. And she needed to step up and own it. And she wasn't happy about it at first. There was a lot of resistance. She was mad at me. She was mad at me because I could see what she was holding back, which is my superpower. I can really see that. And when I broke through and I got her to push, it took 4 months before she made associate VP. And she was one of the youngest people in the organization to ever get that role. She was 29 at the time when this happened. Meanwhile, 3 years later, because this happened relatively recently, 3 years later, she was just named AVP, the youngest in the company's 50-year history. So now she's a VP, and she credits her whole swagger transformation as the thing that allowed her to fully step into her power. Because when we make choices about what we choose to show, we forget that so much of our personal power gets stuck inside with all the things we're not showing to people. So we can only bring a percentage of ourselves to our work or to our purpose. But when we unleash everything we are, all of our power comes with it, and we become badass, unstoppable. And that's one of the big secrets, is that when you are fully yourself, you have full access to all of the things that are going to make other people sit up and take notice. Because remember, it's different for everybody. It's like, if I'm going to censor myself, which aspect of myself do I censor? Which aspect of myself do I hold back? One works for this person, another part doesn't work for another person. I'm spending my whole time picking and choosing and having to adapt myself in the moment to all of the whims of other people, which is crazy, because that's about them. It's got nothing to do with us. I mean, we wouldn't go to the airport and go to the baggage carousel and pick up somebody's baggage and drag it down the causeway and then take it home and put on somebody else's dirty underwear. But we choose to do that in life. We pick up everybody else's baggage and we wear it as our own. And we let their perspective and their perception and their tolerances or intolerances or whatever they have, we allow them to be imposed on us. And that is just not a way to live.
I love that. I want to kind of say a comment that Preti mentions in the comments section. I've always felt like a misfit at work. I tried so hard to fit in and it never worked. Now I'm just me. I'm going to follow up with her other question because I think it kind of ties in with the question that I was going to ask you. Are there times where you can't be yourself in a specific organization or a company? I'll give you an example. When I was in my 20s, I was in the music industry at my own company, and I mainly booked hip hop artists like Fife Dog, Farside, some of these other kind of artists. But I always felt like I had to be someone that I wasn't, because I don't like going out. it's not that I didn't like the music industry, but I felt like I had to be tough and I had to kind of wear an exterior. And I was miserable. And even though I was successful at what I was doing and our company was growing, I felt like I couldn't be myself in that situation, right? Like my business partner and I had a saying, and it's funny now, but it was basically our favorite saying was, fuck you, pay me, because we had to deal with promoters and all of these other folks who just kind of belittled us because we're women. And I realized I just had to leave the music industry and find another career. Is there just, and then I think about my agency days where it's predominantly males, right? And then I left that industry. Preeti kind of mentions, how do we find organizations to work at the value of our authenticity? As an ENTJ female, very rare, in an Asian female body, stereotypically quiet and submissive, I don't fit in since I am so unique. So do we sometimes just have to leave organizations, or do we just kind of, demand that we're accepted until the organization changes?
Well, that's a lot of question. I think we deserve to be accepted for who we are. We deserve that. If we're in an organization who absolutely rejects who we are, why would we want to work for an organization like that? We're wasting our value. So yeah, there will be places that you're just not a fit for, or industries. You said you were miserable. That's an indicator. If you're miserable, you're not in prison. You have the power to make changes, even if you're forced to stay where you are until you find another role. But then you learn your lesson. And when you go to apply for other roles, you walk in from the jump being exactly who you are. And you say, this is me. This is what I'm looking for. This is the value that I bring. If it feels to you that I'm a good fit for this organization, then hire me. If I'm not, don't hire me, because we're all going to be unhappy. We learn that there will always be a place for us. It may not be what we imagine. Your life didn't turn out the way you expected. My life didn't turn out the way that I expected. But so much of what we believed we should do or where we should work and stuff was imposed on us by other people anyway. So it takes time to figure out, where do I fit and what do I want to be? But if you pretend to be someone that you're not, you are just diminishing everything. And you'll never really know if you can be accepted until you break out. So the thing about life is that it is, believe it or not, it is easier to fit in than it is to stand out. You can make choices to fit in. It's when you don't want to make those choices that things get really difficult. When they piss you off and you realize that it's not right for you, and you feel diminished and you're angry and you're frustrated and you're sad and you don't feel seen, that's when you know you're not in the right place. The job that you have, all of you right now on this call, the job that you have now will likely not be the last job that you have. So when you choose the next job, what is important to you? And if being who you really are and being able to show that and fly your freak flag high and be everything that you are is incredibly important, then that's what you look for. That's what you interview for. That's what you demand. And you go in like that. I said the most liberating thing in the world is to go to do a job interview and be 100% yourself. Because if they dig you, you know you're good to go. There will be no surprises. If the hiring manager goes, yes, you're going to be a great fit, and the people on the team who you're going to talk to think you're going to be good there. But if you pretend to be someone that you're not and they hire you, you're going to go, oh shit, now what do I do? Do I show people who I really am? Do I pretend? Do I suffer? Do I whatever? You become like a ticking time bomb, and it's not worth it. It is not worth it. I guarantee you, it is not worth it. Because if you're just waiting for something to happen so that you can step into your power. You're giving away your power to the world.
I love that. A comment from Kathy. I recently left my job in a large corporation after I realized it was driving me into depression and bringing out a lot of anger in me.
Yeah.
Good for you, Kathy. I'm glad to be away from that environment. And
yeah.
I think many of us, nod your head if you've kind of been in a situation similar to Kathy, yeah. where you just, was toxic, and I remember I had one job where I was kind of like envisioning myself getting hit by the bus before I went to work every day.
Listen, when I was an advertising creative director, it was a great role. I was at McCann. It was super high powerful. I was a woman at the top of my game on the digital side. All of that stuff was fantastic, except for the fact that I found the environment starting to change me. I was angry. I was frustrated. I wanted to help and lead my people, which is what my expectations were for a people leader, even in the advertising business. I was too busy putting out client fires. There was politics. There was all the shit that came along with it, all of the judgment, all of the scrutiny, all of that stuff. And I came home and I said to my husband one day, I feel like I'm using my superpowers for evil instead of good. And all I want to do is help people be better at their jobs. So I'm going to quit my job and start a training company. And he said, what? But first of all, Leslie, you hate training. And second of all, you're untrainable. I was like, right, exactly. Who better to start a training company than someone who hates training and who's untrainable? Because if I can create experiences for people like me, then I'll probably be onto something. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to devote myself to people like me in this world who just want to feel better in their skin, who want to be more confident, who want to be more competent, and who need help and support. And I'm going to do it my way, my rules, my thing, my everything. And that's what I did. And 13 years later, it's an award-winning, global training company. But a lot of people told me that even with the brand of my company, that I should be way more corporate, and that we should be way less outrageous, and we should I heard it all. Believe me, I heard it all. And you know what I said to all of them? Fuck y'all. This is my company. I get to decide. And if it's not going to work, that's on me. But if I take your advice and it doesn't work, then what? I have no one to blame but myself. I wanted to take the responsibility and I wanted to hold the vision, and that's what I did. And surprise, authenticity paid off yet again. That's just the way. It's the way that the world works. It really is. And until you step into yourself, you will not know if you can be accepted and respected for who you really are. So you're trapped in that place of not knowing. You're afraid that you won't be, so you don't try it, and you don't try it because you're afraid that you won't be. It's like you can't win.
I love that. I feel like we are kindred spirits.
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of people on this call who are going preach.
Yes, yes.
It's not, but do not get me wrong. It is not easy to do. Okay. Finding and unleashing your swagger is a lifelong journey, because
so that's actually
shit's going to happen.
Question. How do you nurture it? And really quick, a comment from Monique. I think we as women hold back. I answered a 10 on most of the questions and wanted to answer the first question as badassness and held back. So how do we develop? So that's a good leeway into my next question is, how do we develop swagger in ourselves?
Well, we all come into this world as swagger-filled badasses. You ask any kid, and they'll tell you, I'm beautiful, I'm smart, I'm amazing, I'm awesome. And then life comes and kicks the shit out of us. And it can be from our parents who are well-meaning, our family who want the best for us, and they only know how to assimilate and why they believe that's a good thing because they want us to be safe and protective. Maybe our parents did not lift us up when we were kids. And then we went to school and we got a beat down there. And then we had formed relationships. And then we went to, college and university, and teachers had a whole bunch of things to say. And then we had our first jobs and our second jobs, and everybody had an opinion about who we should be. And you wake up one day and you say, what happened to me? How did I get like this? This is not who I used to be. And you think it's gone. I'm going to tell you, it's not gone. You are still that same person. It's just been trapped deep inside you. But do not believe for a second that it's gone. Once a badass, always a badass. And what you need to do is to want to reconnect with that part of yourself. That's the first thing. You got to want it, and you got to be willing to do the work. The next thing is you've got to recognize where it's getting stuck. because otherwise you're just going to be massively overwhelmed by this thing of like, where do I begin and what do I do? And remember, I come from a training background, so this girl don't play. I didn't want to write some fluffy wuffy inspirational book, which, like, all power to the people who write those, was not my jam. I wanted to be hardcore pragmatic. I wanted something that could literally hold your hand through the process of unleashing your swagger, step by step by step. So what I did is I identified the 5 kind of fundamental swagger blockers. And once I identified the blockers, I recognized that people were getting stuck somewhere within the blockers, sometimes within all of them, but sometimes more in one area or in another. The blockers are, if you imagine you're trapped in the middle on the inside, okay? I want you to imagine that there are these concentric circles that surround us. And each one represents some aspect of what's blocking your swagger. So if we start from the outside in, the first one is persona. It's that belief that you need to show up a certain way, you need to walk and talk and dress and behave a certain way in order to fit in. Right? Your swagger is going to get blocked there every time. The next layer in is, and this one's a little bit controversial, but it's ambition. Because ambition has a way of causing us to behave in ways that are not authentic to us. We are so fixated on the next rung of the ladder, on success as a measure of our worth, of validation, that we'll do anything to get it. We'll fall into all of the things that we're being told are the things, the behaviors we must take on, the attitudes, all of the things, and we get progressively disconnected from who we really are. And what happens when we're focusing upwards is we don't focus inwards enough. We don't focus left and right on our peers and colleagues, and we sure as hell don't focus on our followers. But if we're in our place of excellence, as opposed to fixating upwards, and we're focusing left and right on ourselves and on our followers, we will get supported and lifted to where we need to be. Because whether you have the title of a leader or the attitude of a leader, you will be recognized as a leader. But ambition can change you and rob you of your swagger, and it also feeds into persona. Next layer in is insecurity. Insecurity is all of the what ifs, all of the questions that you have about what's going to happen if I do this. What if I behave this way? What if I try this? What if I step out of my comfort zone? What if people don't like me? What if I'm not respected? What if? And there are no answers in insecurity. It's like being put in the psychological spin dryer. There's just questions, and those questions will keep you churning. And because the brain likes certainty, the brain will go to its default setting of better safe than sorry. And it will keep you trapped and paralyzed. So insecurity reinforces ambition, which reinforces persona. Next layer in is fear. Fear is the answer to the what if. What if I don't walk, talk, behave, do, succeed? What's going to happen? Fear is going to say bad things are going to happen. It will tell you that bad things are going to happen because it doesn't want you. Your brain does not want you to take the risks required. Because according to the brain, better safe than sorry, as the default, anytime we change something, our brain thinks we're putting ourselves at huge risk. It can't tell the difference between I might get a side eye from my boss and a tiger might eat me fear. Like they're to the brain, they're the same. So fear keeps you where you are, and it tells you that you're going to be safe where you are. And it's a big fat lie. Fear is a big fat liar. But now you have fear reinforcing insecurity, reinforcing ambition, reinforcing persona. Last layer in, and the one that's closest to us, is pain. Pain is proof. Pain is a reminder that there have been times where you have gotten hurt, when you stuck yourself out, when you popped your head up and you said, accept me, and it didn't work out for you. It could be something that happened to you when you were in 4th grade. You could have done a presentation on tree frogs and turned out you had a big booger hanging out of your nose and all the kids laughed at you. And for the rest of your life, you are going to be afraid of standing up in front of people and speaking, because pain is scar tissue. So if things didn't go well for you at some point, you are going to continue to hold on to that pain, and you're not going to want to go there again. And then there's the real you stuck behind those blockers. And every time you try and bring your swagger out into the world, it has to navigate and negotiate through them like a fucking American Ninja gauntlet exercise, where the things are swinging at you, knocking, you gotta, like, the thing's slippery, you're climbing, you gotta swim under insecurity and climb over ambition and, punch through persona. It's incredibly daunting. So you start by breaking it down and saying, where do I think I'm getting the most stuck? Take a little tiny piece of it. And for every one of those blockers, there's 5, 6 exercises in the book so that you can take it piece by piece by piece, break it down, practice it. I even have exercises on practicing speaking your truth because it doesn't come naturally to so many people. We're so used to towing the line and, giving half truths and couching what we're saying in order to be accepted or to be acceptable. So it's going to take time and it's going to take work, but I promise you it is so doable and so achievable. And once you get it, it will never go away. Never go away.
I love that. And I'm just going to read some quotes from the folks who are in LinkedIn Live. You guys probably can't see it right now, but Nicole, I've been at my job for 20 years, but the management team and CEO have allowed a toxic person to stay in the company, which makes my life miserable. Even when she's gone, I've decided not to start a job, part of the company that finds this behavior acceptable. Peace out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, yeah.
That's what you vote with your feet, like if you believe that you are the big prize, then the biggest fuck you can give to a company is saying, peace out. You don't get to have me anymore. You don't deserve me.
It reminds me of one of the best negotiation tactic is sometimes just to walk away, right?
Well, you can't negotiate. You can't come to the table unless you're willing to walk away. You can't. You're never going to be successful.
And you know what? It's kind of funny. When you know that you're okay to walk away, that almost gives you some swagger, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because your confidence levels goes up. So there's a quote from Claudia, and I think you kind of answered it, which is to do exercises, small steps. But how do you find yourself again after you've been busy trying to be someone else, someone you're not for years? Do you want to take that on? You kind of mentioned it.
Yeah, I have something in the book that I talk about. It's called the 10th grade test. Go and talk to someone who you've been friends with since 10th grade, and have a little interview with them and say, what is it that you've always loved about me? When someone says my name, what do you think of? Who am I to you? What is it that you think makes me special and unique? Have a little chat with them. Make some notes and create a little profile of how they see you. Because when they got to know you, you were in your place before you started to really work hard on trying to be someone that you're not. Then go talk to someone who's known you for a period of time, let's say 10 years. Ideally, someone who knows you both personally and professionally. Ask them the same questions. What is it about me that you love? What do you think of me? So blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Then go talk to someone who's only known you at work for a short period of time and ask them. And look at the disconnect between those things. Your 10th grade friend has known you for all of these years, and you have not changed for them. You have been the same, but you've grown and evolved. So yeah, you're going to be more sophisticated. You're going to be wiser. You're going to be more experienced, and you bring that to that relationship. But they will recognize the things that have always been true of you. And you want to see how far you've gotten from all of that. A lot of us really know. We don't want to accept it. It can just be that talk you have with yourself. I remember when I used to be. Finish that sentence there. I can do a little exercise with everybody if you want.
Yeah, because why don't we do that maybe at the end? I'm going to say some comments from the LinkedIn Live, just because I want to recognize the folks who are on LinkedIn Live. Samuel Adoloa says that we bring our gifts to the world without being fearful. An inner door opens within ourselves to shine. I thought that was very insightful.
Swagger.
Yeah. And Michelle, challenges are opportunities. Take those risks and grow. And I want to kind of, let's do the activity after this question, but I have an anonymous kind of question. As a Black woman, many of us know we cannot show up authentically. It isn't because we don't know we aren't bad. Knowing based on experience that it will be weaponized and used against us. Simple example, wearing our hair in a natural state. we have to have laws enacted to protect us, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So curious on your thoughts on that. Like, is there a different lens when you're talking about a woman of color or man of color?
I think there are degrees of challenge. If you look at a white dude, the degrees of challenge is facing that dude, to reveal his swagger is this much. I mean, there's still a challenge this much, because there are also, mores about how men are supposed to show up, for example. Then you've got women, you've got women of color, you've got intersectional women, you've got there's levels of challenge that you're going to have to face. There will be places where you can be your authentic self. I love on LinkedIn when someone will post. There was recently someone posted a graphic about Black women's hair, and that here are all the things that are considered to be unprofessional. And then there was the graphic was a counter to that, like, this is professional, they're all fucking professional. It's you that is bad and wrong. It's not these beautiful women's hair. It is your lens that is the wrong lens. And so the challenge becomes, if we don't challenge those, then nothing ever changes. Like that, it's like this terrible catch-22. And the way I think that you've got to find the place that you can do and be who you are. Because not everybody's going to want to take on the fight. Not everybody's going to want to take the risk. But if you are someone who wants to take on that fight and that risk, the only option is to do you. That's your best weapon, is to say, this is who I am. I'm amazing. I'm beautiful. I'm competent. I am fabulous, and take all of me or take none of me, because there will be places that will accept you. And the world is changing way too fucking slowly, way too slowly, but it is changing in little tiny degrees, and the fighters have to be at the front. Everybody. And it's not just Black women who need to fight for Black women's hair. It's everybody who needs to fight for Black women's hair. Everybody, So if you see that, or you hear that, or you whatever, if you're an ally, you stand up and you say, hey, not acceptable. Because I got a Jufro, and can I wear my Jufro? Well, apparently, yeah. Why? Because I'm white. So it's ridiculous. You got it. We all have to be allies in the fight for everybody's swagger. We've got to say that in our teams, start smaller, like in your work team, for example, in your, to say, here we try and speak our truth. Here we do this. We respect each other. And then your level of functioning as a team is going to increase exponentially, because you can have different levels of conversation, because your communication is going to, and you represent now a model for what works and what doesn't. Your boss, your leader, is going to get more kudos. Why is your team so high performing in comparison to other teams that are so toxic and crappy? It's like, because we have swagger on this team. We know how to speak our truth. We understand our intention. We have clarity of intention. Because here's the thing about truth. You got to get smart about speaking your truth. Because if you're just going to run around, with wearing no pants, with your hair on fire, screaming, I must speak my truth, nobody is going to listen. So you got to get strategic about it. And the beautiful thing about your truth is that you can frame it so that it's not just good for you, but that it's good for the collective. And if you can frame it as being good for the collective, which it should be, then all of a sudden, people have way more patience to hear it. You got to make choices. You never change your truth, and you don't limit your truth, but you may have to decide where, when, and to whom to get the result that you want. Because there's no point in speaking your truth unless you're going to get a result. That's the point of it, is that you want something to happen out of your truth being spoken. So again, there's all kinds of things that you can do to get smarter. Like if you have conflict with a boss, and you sit down for a meeting and you say, I said, I'm really unhappy about this. I don't like the way that you're managing me. I don't like the way you're leading me. I didn't like that conversation that happened. I didn't like how you acted in the meeting, whatever. That boss is on their back foot. They are defensive. It is not going to go well. But if you sit down and say, hey, so I want to be able to bring everything that I am to this team. I love this team, love this work, and I want to be able to bring everything that I can. But there are a few things happening that I feel are holding me back from being the best that I can in this work, being my most productive. So I wanted to know if we could talk about some of those things and just see how we can help each other, because I know you want the best of me and I'm all here for it. I want to bring the best of me. Are you open to that conversation? We start from a whole different place right now. And even if that person's an asshole, at least they're not a defensive asshole now. You know, because you made it easier for them to hear your truth. So there's you got to, you know, the world, unfortunately, it's not, you know, and we don't want that for everybody else. We don't want everybody else running around screaming with their hair on fire. I must speak my truth. You know, we have to believe that there's some other people's truth. There's something in it for us too. You know, if someone's not happy about something that I'm doing, what's in it for me is I can be a better human for that person. But they're going to have to think about how they're going to position it. So I'm also human. I have emotions. I don't want to get triggered. I don't want to be defensive. I don't want to get angry. I don't want to take it personally. I mean, we're all human. So it's about getting smart about how you communicate your truth as well, and to always know why you're doing it. That's truth, intention, and self-belief. Those are the 3 key swagger drivers.
Love that. Some quotes from LinkedIn Live. I just left a successful corporate career of 20 years. No more giving my gifts and talents to build other success while hiding my swagger.
Yes.
Started my own company launching next week. Shannon Kunkel. I love hearing these examples and pivots for direct success. The approach so much matters for the future workforce under your care. Thank you. And everyone needs to stand for the dignity of human persons everywhere, regardless of their difference, period.
Yeah.
And Nicole Benisek, loved how you framed the conversation. Sarah Jennings, thank you. I received that encouragement, and thank you for your support. So Leslie, we usually do breakout groups, but I just want to milk your presence here. What do you want to do? Do you want me to ask more questions, or do you want to do like an activity?
Well, I think,
just know we also have some people on LinkedIn Live and Facebook and YouTube and such.
Well, everybody can do it. It doesn't have to be something that you necessarily share. You can do it for yourself. It's just a really good way to recognize what the through line to our existence is. You know, there's a way that we can reconnect with the things that we have been, and to embrace things that used to be difficult. It's a really simple exercise. You guys want to do it? You want to do?
Let's do it.
You want to do it? Okay. So I want you to just grab a piece of paper. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we can get some people to, you know, some people here, if they want to share them, they can, or whatever. So grab a piece of paper, and I want you to fill in this sentence. In the past, I was always told that I was, fill in that sentence. I'm going to go back to gallery view because I want to be able to see. Maybe come back on camera, guys, if you can, because I want to get a sense of what happened with this. So if you can come back on camera, if you feel comfortable, please do.
Yeah. Those who are on the Zoom call, please put your video on if you can. You're beautiful the way you are.
Okay, so in the past, I was told that I was, okay. Now, without answering, I want you to give me that, because I love Lan's thing, to give me your hands if what you filled in was something negative. Anybody do that? Okay. Was it to something? No, or not enough something? Or less than something?
So it's interesting because I didn't raise my hand because mine was outspoken and bossy, surprise. But I don't think it's negative. So I didn't put my hand up, but other people would think it's negative.
And at the time, it was meant as a negative. It was meant to diminish you. Okay. For me, I was always told that I was too much. All right. Now, not everybody has that. Some people put up, show me this if it was something positive. I was always told that I was awesome, amazing, beautiful, smart, creative, powerful, whatever it was. Beautiful. Okay. So you started at an advantage. That's great. And that's what you were able to take away from all the messages that you got. So it's great. You had like a leg up from the jump, right? Because that's the tape that was playing in your head from the beginning. Now I want you to fill in. Today, people tell me that I'm, finish that sentence. Today, people tell me that I'm what? Okay. I'm looking to see if you're finished or not. Okay. So, was that something positive? Put your hands up if it was something positive. Today, people tell me that I'm okay. Now, I want you to look at your answer from the first thing and your answer from the second thing and tell me if there is a thread there. Either that you turned something that was a criticism into your superpower. Is it that you built on the thing that you were told you were great at from the beginning? Okay, so let's do the first part. Show me your hands if you turned what started out as criticism into some form of your superpower. If you see the thread of that thing. Ah, beautiful. So for example, if someone told you you were too bossy and outspoken, today people tell you that you're what, Len?
Inspirational.
Ah, you cannot be inspirational unless you're outspoken and bossy or whatever bullshit someone's going to label you with, right? You see the through line for that? So for example, for me, people used to say I was too much. Today, people tell me that I'm so passionate. Well, you can't be passionate without being too much. It's not possible. That's what passion is. But it was criticized when I was young. Today, I own it. It defines who I am. Okay? Now, let's do the third part of the exercise. In the future, I want to be known as or for what? Yeah, and if you want to put your first part and your second part in the chat here too, we can read some of them out.
Awesome. And for folks who are on LinkedIn Live too, I'd love to hear yours. So
yes,
feel free to type that in the chats as well.
So for example, someone said their first thing. So Preeti said, I was told I was too direct, and now people tell me that I'm brave. You see the connection between that? Someone else said too direct, and now I'm told that I'm smart. A total through line to that. No bullshit, right? Knew her own mind, understood how she felt about the world. Too direct, was not going to be cowed, was not going to be beaten down. Now people tell her that she's brave. Okay? So in the future, I want to be known for or as. Is it the today thing next leveled big time? Put up your hand. Give me this if it's next leveled. If that thing that you're told today is your superpower, that the dream is to take it to that next level and make it massively exponential. Give me some of this if that's where you took it. Okay. So today I think it's I don't know if it's one name or all together. It's Yos Ferrandi said a go-getter to lots of problems, challenges, trouble. That's what you're told today. Was that what it is?
Yes. Yes. And my name is Yusra Fandi. It's my first and last name.
Okay. Yusra Fendi. Okay, so Yosfra, so you were told that you were you're today you're told that you're a go-getter, or in the past
No,
you were told you were a go-getter,
in the past, I used to be.
and now people
Like,
say that you are a problem.
yes, yes, lots of
Okay.
problems because when I came here, I came to pursue my master's degree. I came from Libya, from a war zone. So obviously, when you come from a war zone, you are African, Arabic, you speak different languages, and you're Libyan, Tunisian. You bring all these differences with you, uniquenesses that I do believe, but they are seen as very complicated. So you cannot fit in, but at the same time, when you go through lots of personal issues here, as like trying to make your own way and succeed in your own goals and have your own view about everything and your own experience, you are seen in a different way based on people's limited experiences and limited view of you, like from social media or news or anything. So when you share a little bit about you in a workplace or even with friends or anything like that, you hear these comments like, "Oh my God, if I were you, I would not be able to make it," or "This is crazy," or "You're trouble," or "You're lots of problems." Because when you survive war, I see it as really good thing. And then you cannot make it back home because it's civil war and it's not stable. I do see that as just, this is what's happening in life. I am meant to be here and live here. But people see it as a problem.
It sounds to me that people are also telling you that you're far braver than they are.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe, yeah, but in a negative way, yeah. Yeah, I see it all the time in a positive way. Try to.
Yeah.
Well,
because
we think you're amazing.
Oh,
so.
I think that's so badass. I always, I have so much love I mean, I have so much love for everybody. Because I just love human beings, but I have such mad, incredible respect for people who choose to leave everything they've known, whether the situation there was bad or okay or fine or terrible, and do all of the things that it takes to come to a new country, to learn a new language, to to settle into a new culture, to face all of the challenges, and to fucking thrive. Like, it's so badass. And I say to people, you're already here. You've already won. It's you already did it. You escaped. You thrived. Look at you. Like, you got to feel your bad self.
The only one, sorry for interrupting you. The only challenge for now is like, how can you do all your dreams and your projects and everything that they are just written on paper, and you feel like you want to find your way and network and do all these things that you used to be. So I used to organize events and connect people, like in conferences and educational wise, in a program that was called to rebuild Libya. It's like working on the knowledge of civil society advocates and volunteers to help human rights and help people in everything, and especially like women's rights. So when I came here, I found myself just a little bit far away, or I fall out of the cycle of connection and professional networking and everything. So I felt like I need to catch up, and I couldn't do that. And many people overseas who really knew me before, they're like, "We're waiting for you. What are you doing?" Like, so you hear negative, comments sometimes, like, "What happened to you? Like, why are you just lacking this or that, or you're not showing up anymore?" Or especially because of my background, human rights and political science. So it's just like many people are just waiting for me to do something, and I'm doing my master's degree right now. So I do believe it's a good thing, but I feel like I used to be like so much doing a lot, since I was 21 years of age.
Let me tell you, life is long, life is long. You have so much time. Listen, I just wrote my first book. I'm 57 years old. Everything will happen in its time, and you have got to fall in love with where you are in your journey, because it's badass. Like, truly is badass. And listen, you're on a network call now of 65 other people. Who knows what's going to happen from that? What you're doing right now is you're just laying a new foundation. That's all you're doing. And instead of worrying about all of the what ifs, that's insecurity and fear, right? What if I don't, and what's going to happen? I'm like, just be in love with where you are right now, because it needs your focus, it needs your attention, and you're going to lay a solid foundation. And then you have all of these transferable skills, all of this experience that's then just going to allow you to next level it. Just breathe.
I love that.
Breathe.
So Leslie, it's 6:05, right? It's 6:05 right now. So we're a little bit over. Any kind of final thoughts or think, like, what's the one thing you'd want the folks who are like either on LinkedIn Live, Facebook, YouTube, or on the Zoom room to take away from this call or your book?
Well, if you look, I'm just going to show you something on my book, because it's my little Easter egg that I love. So if you look at my book, do you notice here it says unleash everything you are and become everything you want? But in yellow, it says you are everything. And the message that I want to give every single one of you, and it makes me cry whenever I get to talk to beautiful people and share this message, is that you already have everything that you need. You are everything. The only thing that has to happen is you need to believe it. And when you believe it, everything changes. Your swagger is waiting for you. The question is, what are you waiting for?
Love that. So everyone, go run right now, go to Amazon, buy Leslie's book. It is out right now. You can find her in the chat. I wrote her website, Leslie Ehm.com. You can also find her on LinkedIn, linkedin.com, her Leslie, and then go to her website, Swagger the Book. So everyone, if you can kind of unmute yourself, we need to give Leslie a huge round of applause. Unmute yourself, Leslie, you're amazing.
Yay, very good. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you.
You are awesome,
Thank you.
Leslie.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Really, it's my honor. It's my honor to get to hang out with you. And I just wish you all a badass swagger journey. Go unleash everything you are and become everything you want.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye, everyone.